Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. First of all, thank you for all the Naujawan turning up at Baba San Gurdwara in Smethwick at the Sikh Youth Conference. This is exactly a year on from last time the Naujawan got together at Guru Nanak Prakash Gurdwara in Coventry to discuss similar issues, to discuss what's happening with our community across the world. And today we're getting together on the first anniversary of that. And we're also getting together at the Baba San Gurdwara for the Akhand Paat Sahib, for the memory of Bhai Jaspal Singh Ji, Shaheed. Obviously, everyone knows last year, Gurdwara, when they were whilst doing Simran, peacefully protesting, they were shot dead. And as obviously a result of that, year on, the sangat, the Naujawan have got together and obviously doing a Akhand Paat Sahib, and they're doing youth programs and all sorts. And it was really touching to see how much youth from all spectrums and all different parts of our community coming together at the Gurdwara Sahib doing seva, helping out in the Langar di seva, helping out in the Karab Shah di seva, helping out in the Marj seva, everything was happening. It was fantastic. It was very nice to see that. Obviously it's going to continue until the Bhog on Sunday. But because we're talking about Shaheed Bhai Jaspal Singh, today's Sikh Youth Conference is a bit about thinking. We're talking about a 17-year-old Naujawan who's become Shaheed. His aspirations, as I'm not going to go through the whole history because I'm sure many of you already know, his aspirations and what his desires were and what his upbringing was. And this is the key word that I want to just touch upon, and I'll pass on to the panel and then pass back to the audience, is what his upbringing. What was his aims, his objectives in life? What was his jivan about that gave him the opportunity to achieve martyrdom, Shaheedi? Because not everyone can get Shaheedi. It's Guru's kirpa de naal mil diya, right? So at a young age, obviously Bhai Jaspal Singh Ji has been given the right upbringing, the right learning. He's been sent to the Gurdwara Sahib, he's been doing seva, he's been reading Gurbani, he's been getting involved in the community around him. He obviously felt the dard, he felt the pain, like so many of thousands of people across the world did. 100,000, millions across the world. The KC Laird, the I Pledge Orange campaign, all of this happened last year. It was the youth and the community, the elders, everybody uniting for Bhai Balwant Singh Rajwana. Right? A year on, we talk about Shaheed Bhai Jaspal Singh Ji. We're commemorating his Shaheedi today. We also want to create awareness that ek saal ho gaya. When a coppers fire a bullet in Punjab, every single bullet is registered to a police officer. So they know which police officer fired that bullet, which killed Bhai Jaspal Singh Ji. To date, the family of Bhai Jaspal Singh Ji are still asking for justice. They're still going to the Kachariya, they're still asking for those people that were responsible for the death of Bhai Jaspal Singh to be brought to account. It's creating awareness of that. Everyone pledged orange last year, thousands upon millions, yeah? Everyone went back home. But one of our brothers didn't. But having said that, at the same time, I'm going to just quickly finish off with, when I pass back to the panel, talking about Naujawan and the aspirations of Naujawan throughout history, of how many great examples we've got of Naujawan that had that correct upbringing. We're talking about Bhai Jaspal Singh's sister, and one of her quotations in a video that you can see on YouTube was that says, Mara pra Mariani o Shaheed hoya. She understood the difference between Marn kala banda mar gaya, but Amar ho gaya. He's been immortalized. Shaheedi prapat kitiya, and she was proud of that fact. So if our sister is proud of that fact, we should be proud of that fact. But at the same time, we're in a crisis identity situation at the moment. I know Naujawan seem to be very confused of what Sikh is or what I should be doing as a Sikh. And I think this is the first part. Then we're going to go on to the issues in the UK that affect the Sikh youth and what we can do about them, okay, and the way forward. So what we'll do is start off with the first part. And obviously I'm sure everyone knows the panel already, so there's no point introducing everybody, but I'm going to pass it straight to Bhainderjit Singh Ji.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I think Cam's started off with a very good point about young people in Sikhi and their aspirations, their dreams. I think when we talk about Sikhi and what Sikhi teaches, We talk about Sikhi doesn't distinguish between different castes. Sikhi doesn't distinguish between what race you're born in. Sikhi doesn't distinguish between your gender. Sikhi also doesn't distinguish between your age. If you look at Sikh Ityas, we have very, very young children who we call Baba. We have elders that we refer the same respect to. So Sikh is not your age which determines whether or not you're capable of certain things or certain successes. It's your actions, it's your mindset, it's your personal drive. The most obvious example of young Babe are Char Sahibzade, Baba Jeet Singh Ji, Baba Jujhar Singh Ji, Baba Fateh Singh Ji, Baba Zorawar Singh Ji. We call them Babe, not because of their age, but because of their deeds and their actions and the mark of respect that we have towards them. The brilliant thing about this conference and the brilliant thing about this event, I would say the great thing about the UK and generally I think we're very lucky, is we have a lot of young people who are driving Sikhi in this country, driving Prachar, driving Seva, and we've got a lot of those people sitting in the sangat today as well, and Majika, for now everyone will get time and a chance to speak. So it's fantastic I think in the UK that we've got the young people here driving this. The one thing I'd like to say is that with age comes wisdom, obviously, with age comes experience. There's a lot of good that comes with age, but also with age there becomes a lot of baggage that we carry in life. Sometimes become disenchanted, disheartened. We naturally get more attachment as you have kids as they grow older. So with age there's benefits, but there's also negatives that come with that. When you're young, you've got more fire in your belly, so sometimes you do things necessarily without thinking, but at the same time you've got the passion, you've got the energy, you've got the drive. So again, it doesn't matter what age you are, what matters is what you got inside. So this month, as you would have heard on the last show, we remembered like 100 years of the birth of the Gurdwara party in California. And what we had there was a bunch of young people and old people coming together. The drive and the passion came from the youngsters, the age and experience was there in the elders. So the elders were the Fauji, were the army, the soldiers who supplied the arms, the weapons, etc. to fight the revolution. And it's youngsters who fought on the front line, it's youngsters going village to village, doing the prachar, doing the coordination, doing the paperwork, releasing the literature, doing the propaganda. And we see in those examples people like Kartar Singh Sarabha, who at the age of 19 was hung alongside 46 of his fellow Gadris. You have people like Bhagat Singh, who says Kartar Singh is my hero. This is the 18, 19-year-old boy who became the hero of one of the greatest consequential heroes of the Free India movement. And that's just modern history. If you look back further, there's countless examples of young Sikhs who have either led from the front or contributed massively to Sikh. I think, Bhai Sahib, you were talking earlier about Maharaja Ranjit Singh created the beginnings of the Sikh Raj at 19, was it? 18, 19 years old. Maharaja Ranjit Singh creating the Punjab or the Khalsa Raj. So age has no limitation on what we can achieve. If we decide to cap our achievements by our age, then we're doing ourselves short. And at the same time, Benti, for both us, first of all, from as youngsters, we need to have respect for our elders as well. Because sometimes they do know a little bit more than we do, so we need to share and learn from them. But Benti to the elders as well, just because someone is younger than you, doesn't mean they don't know anything. There's this kind of old saying, कि नौजवानों च जोश हुंदा होश नहीं. And that's a cultural thing, and I don't think it's necessarily always true. It can be. Josh means like the energy, the power, the fire in the belly. Hosh means common sense and using your brains. And the last thing I want to say is just Benti, let's get out of this mindset that just because you're young, that you haven't got a brain. Just because you're young, you can't achieve. You can. You can absolutely do great things. You just got to feel the power inside you and have the will and do the ardas to Maharaj to do that. So that's just a quick opening from me to say to the youth that you can do whatever you want as long as you put your mind to it and do ardas to Maharaj.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Just to pick up from bits what Bhai Jaspal just said, he spoke about age and how age has got nothing, and that's exactly true within Sikhi. And if we looked at we're obviously all part, or we adhere to be part of the Khalsa Panth. Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji was the age 9 years old. Now 9 is, obviously Bhai Jaspal Singh was about 18 years old. Half the age of that, Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji sent their father for the Hindus. So to start off with, obviously we had Sri Guru Arjan Dev Sahib Ji who gave their Shaheedi, and that they started off the Ravaj of Shaheeds and having Shaheeds in the Panth. Then Sri Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji created the Miri Piri, and then from that we got our identity, who are Sikhs and what are we. And from there, Sri Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji straight away, we fight for injustice and we stand up. And on that day, Bhai Jaspal Singh went back to recover the Dastara of some Singhs who had been ripped off their heads. That same Dastar that bachared people, that bachared the whole of India from Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji when Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji sent them at the age of 9. So again, they were just over the age of 9 years old, and they sent their father for Shaheedi for a different religion. Then their four Sahibzade, like Bhai Indrajit Singh said, probably younger than all of us sat here, all four of them were Shaheed again for this Qawm. This Qawm is a Qawm of Shaheeds. Now there's no other Qawm in the world where you can look where the leader or the guru of that Qawm, aap Shaheed, aap sare parvar nu Shaheed kar raha hai. Yeah, their Fauj are always, their armies are always getting Shaheed, but this is a Qawm where they've done it and then the rest have followed it. The Gurus were Shaheed, the first Shaheed of the Sikhs was Sri Guru Arjan Dev Sahib Ji. That is the Qawm that we're in. So, being Prati of the Shaheedi is a blessing, but at the same time, that doesn't mean we're not just going to sit here and get Shaheed constantly, daily, Sikhs are getting killed, but we still want justice. But then at the same time, coming to the youth in England, sometimes we think that we might be too young to do something or let the elders get on with it. The elders have done a great job, they've done what they've done in the country, they've come and they've settled, but the essence is also onto the Nojwan. What are we doing today as Nojwan? I think that's what we're going to move on to next as well. But Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji at the age of 9 sent their father. Then the Char Sahibzade were Shaheed. They had round about 14 jangs. So this kind of, the warrior mentality is inset within Sikhs. But where does that come from? You have to look to the roots. How did all them Singhs give Shaheed? How did they fight in so many battles? How did Maharaja Ranjit Singh get that Raj? And how did Banda Singh Bahadur go from Nandir di Tarpi, go to Sarhand and Fateh? And to this day it's called Fatehgarh Sahib from what they did. What was that? That is the power of the Guru. All them Gursikhs, even Bhai Jaspal Singh, when you look at the interviews from their mum and their sister, their brother, the Pendale, all them from that Pend, what did they say? We swear no utke Amrit vele Gurdwara Sahib janda si. Kyon Guru ne sanu kiya? Guru de he was Gurmaryad Ansar, Jo Guru kendi si, Guru di mat Ansar, he lived his life. Now us as Nojwan today, sometimes we sit and think, why is the Qawm the way it is? Why are things not happening? Why is, at the end of the day, there is, the solutions are there. The solution, the first initial solution is Guru de mat Ansar challo. Yeah? So that's from, where did their one power of every Shaheed Singh, that you can talk about any Shaheed Singh in Itihas, their power was Gurbani. Baba Deep Singh, he didn't just fight with his head held in his hand for no reason. Now the people these days tell us that that didn't happen. Why? Because Jeri Bani Baba Deep Singh ne padhi si, they've never read it. Shanka karan wale bahut hunde, but they never read it. So the main essence is that we need to go back to what is the Guru telling us, rather than listening to others. And people in this country will also tell that Nojwan why they've gone to the Akhand Paat, so they go to India to learn about what the Guru is telling us. Why did the Nojwan from this country have to do that? Because there was a generation in this country where there was no Sikhi being given out. So Nojwan went back to India, they've learned what Guru is saying, they've learned to listen and to be able to understand Guru Kenda Giya. If we can't understand what the Guru is saying, then we're not going to be able to attain this greatness, and our Qawm is not going to get to the manzil that it needs to be at, because we're going away from what the Guru says. And then there's many Gursikhs around the whole of the country that are doing great jobs, like Bhai Indrajit Singh said. And it's our jobs, and this is a beinti to the mothers and fathers out there, that you need to find these Gursikhs wherever they are around the country, and you need to send your children, and we need to get them into Sikhi. So from a young age, we have that spirit build up to become Shaheeds of the Pan.
I'm going to think of more examples, so I'm going to pass it once I've let the panel decide, have their say. If the audience will think of other examples of Nojwan through our Itihas that have made massive achievements at a young age. Because this is the whole point of inspiring. We need to be able to look back at our Itihas and look at people that we can say, look, inhone ki kita siga, aise umar te, hun sadde ki penda. Hanji bhai.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I just want to go back to Bhai Jaspal Singh just for a minute. Now, we've talked about Shaheedi, about attaining Shaheedi, and the Ucha and Uttam Pad that is Shaheedi. Now, Bhai Jaspal Singh and many of the Singhs and many of the Sikhs at that time in that lair, the Kesari lair, which was in the wake of Bhai Balwant Singh Rajwana, I don't think he went there thinking, "Main Shaheed hona hai." Personally, I don't think he got up in the morning thinking, "Main Shaheed hona utte jaake." He got up thinking, "I'm going to go today and stand up for what's right." Because that is a Sikhya, that is a Gurmat Sikhya that he's been given from a young age. That jithe jhoot hai, main utte jaake gaj ke bolna. Jithe atyachar hunda, main utte jaake gaj ke khadna hai. And a blessing, the fruit of having that soch, the fruit of having that Gurmat instilled in him was that he was blessed with Shaheedi. Now, when it comes to our Naujawan, you know what? It's sad. A lot of us have lost our Zamir. It's sad that we've lost our Zamir, that when issues which are facing the Panth come up, we say, oh, phalana kar luga, oh, we'll leave it to the elders, leader karnage. No, we've got to think the way Bhai Jaspal Singh thought, and that was, you know what? It's on me. We've got to take the power of the Panth on each and every one of our heads. There's millions of us. When millions of us get, if ek banda 100 quantal apne sar te chak nahi sakda. One person cannot lift a ton on top of his head. But if 1,000 bande who think, you know what, no, I have to pick up that ton, another banda comes and thinks, I have to pick up that ton, 1,000 bande get together, they can pick up that ton, because I'm thinking, main apne sar te paar chakna, and katthe ho ke ekta de naal aapa fer paar chak sakde hain, ta idda sanu panth da paar vi chakna pena hai. So, when it comes to issues we face in the UK, we have to step up. We have to take it as our responsibility. So when people like Tunda come to this country, and our Bjorg, our own bande are saying, nay, banda theek hai, no, utte aapa gaj ke bolna. Jado 84 di gall hundi hai, and we're all protesting, we're all exercising our democratic right to protest. We're all gaj ke, considering it our responsibility, considering it our family, our friends that died at Shaheedi in that time, apni zimmewari samjh ke, we go to Hyde Park, we gudge in front of the Indian embassy, not thinking ke, oh, manu hon visa nahi milna. Sanu apni zimmewari sambhalni peni hai. I mentioned it before, I'll mention it again. Bhai Balwant Singh Ji Rajwana awarded another 10 years in jail. This is another trick to see that this generation, our generation, Saadi generation, yeah, where the whole case relay started. To see in 10 years' time, is that generation still awake? In other Jameer Ajay Jagdaya, Ekwari Tika Jagapaya, the whole Sikh Panth got together. Yes, we're pledging orange. Yes, we're standing up against the man. But are we going to keep on standing for the next 10 years? Are we going to stay awake? It's our responsibility. We have to continue with that.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Just wanted to pick up on what Viji was saying there. I just think it's very important that our identity, a person without knowledge of their past history, origin or culture is like a tree without roots. And again, every one of us in this room is an ambassador of our faith. So it is very important that we do take the step forward and we do become leaders and we do learn about our history so that we can fight for justice. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Picking up on what Baji said, we can't leave it to others. We've got to do it. We've got to pick up the weight of the Panth. We've got to do it. But a way to do that is actually working as a community. When it comes to working as a community, we're like, Jal koi nahi flanne do rahende. They'll do it. But if you see other communities, when something happens with the cartoon that was done in Denmark by the Denmark guy and the Muslim came together, they all came together. There was thousands, if not 100,000 odd. When it comes to Jurassic 84 program that we do in London, we're probably about 20,000. If we don't come together now, then we're fighting a big battle. We've got to do it now. We've got to take it upon our shoulders now and not let it continue where we think, Jal Goini, I'll leave it to the next person. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
I'll pass it to the audience now. If anyone can think of examples, other examples here, what we'll talk about, of Naujawan from our Ityas. Once we're in the audience, I'm going to move on to the actual issues affecting us here and what we can do about them, okay? And I will be sharing a couple of stories that are going to shock you, just to set the scene in how bad some of the issues are that are affecting our Naujawan, our community and others in this country. So I'll pass it to the audience first. Inspiration Naujawan from Ityas, just to set the scene, and we'll talk about exactly what's happening to us at the moment.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I just wanted to make a quick point after everything what you've said, what I've heard. I just wanted the point I wanted to make is just a saying, it's a quote. I don't know where it's from, but the saying goes, don't ask what the country can do for you, what can you do for your country?
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. You know, we don't just have to look at the Sikh example. There's many freedom movements in this world. They're still going on. And a good one that I think is quite relevant is the black freedom struggle. and how they actually set up their own colleges. If you watch the movie The Great Debaters, there's a guy at the front, he's training young college-going students on how to speak, how to argue their arguments. And they go and win against Harvard in a debate about racism. Yeah? And they prove themselves to be intellectually the equals of these people. So I think in one way what we've done with our youth is they haven't got public speaking ability. So we haven't got debating classes in Gurdwara. Yeah, we've got places like the Guru Gobind Singh Study Circle in down south. They do some debating for young kids. That's very positive. But they don't debate the complicated stuff. Every year they're debating what is Sikhism, the philosophy of Sikhism. We should be debating this, but at intellectual level. Debating 84, getting our youth trained up to argue, but also listen. Listen to the person's arguments and then destroy it. Take the holes in it. So this is, otherwise we'll just get angry and get stressed and just have a go at them. Then they'll just dismiss us as those angry hotheads. So I think one thing we need to do for our youth, if we can, I mean, I know it's example, but taking the other people's struggle, learning from it, is to actually get our youth involved in debating. Yeah? Don't let them walk away by getting stressed and saying, oh, you're just a... Because what we do is we then just go down to the lowest common thing, which is just a cuss person. Or you're not a Singh, or you're not this, you're not that. We need to go back to saying, you know what, let's just debate the point, because we'll build our intellectual ability. And then when we get on the world stage and people throw something at us, we'll be used to getting people picking holes in our argument, and we can defend ourselves. So that's one point about debate. But the lack of, I mean, the question is what is stopping young Sikhs from stepping up? So I think the lack of knowledge you've already raised, big point. We do miss, our youth do feel insecure about doing something. They think, oh, if I stand up, I don't know nothing, I'm going to get cussed and ripped down. But also, it's the older generation, isn't it? We know that they control the stage, and they're actually emasculating our youth. What I mean by that is, asi bande nahi rahe. Yeah? Asi bacche rahe hege. You go to Gurdwara, you talk against these older people, and they go, tusi to sade bacche hege ho. That's what they say. And you feel like saying, nahi, main thoda baccha nahi, mera baap hega, Guru Gobind Singh. Asi pra hege itthe hon. I got kids, asi pra hege hon. And they don't know how to deal with that person who says, nahi, I'm not your child. Well, we need our youth to step up and start thinking, asi bacche nahi rahe hon. Once you get past 16, in this country, you're an adult. When you watch the news, an 18-year-old man was charged, yeah? And some of you Punjabi, you think 18-year-old, not a man? But in this country, by law, you are a man. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji's time, when you were 15, you were treated as a friend. They said the Puratan Rivaj on treating your children. When you got to 15, at that point, the father should now treat the child as a friend and not a bachcha. So we need to start treating our kids as adults, get them to step up and stop them being emasculated, because they keep thinking as kids. So that's one thing. So debating, public speaking, and letting them come forward, that's the responsibility of all of us. And we need to kind of, we know what the big stopper is. That's the Gurdwara committees. Remember last year when I got up and I said, let's take over the Gurdwara. So I'm still singing that same tune. I went to Canada recently, and the Gurdwara there, that's what they were going to do. They were actually forming their youth committee, and they were going to take over the Gurdwara, right? So that's still what we got to do. It's been a year. There's no point just saying, let's have a debate in 84, let's all get together at Hyde Park. We know Hyde Park doesn't work. We know they got their windows closed, they're not listening. We need to control our pant in the Gurdwara. You lot here at Birmingham maybe might be quite lucky, so you don't feel the fire, because you already got loads of programs in places like this. But in down south, we've got nothing. A lot of good places, you got nothing. You get no control in Gurdwara. So we need to start stepping up to that plate. When we start seeing youth Amritari presidents, youth Amritari secretaries running Gurdwara, it will give the rest of us hope as well. So wherever we are, we need to step up.
Okay, I think Bhai Jaspal Singh there had a lot of fantastic things to say there, some very important things, especially around the debating. And I think, just before we move on to the question, I think I just want to elaborate on that point, because what he mentioned there was one quality, like debating, Benji here mentioned another quality, leadership. Because if we look at our own lives, often what our parents say to us is, Banda ban ja. And one of the sayings, ek din tu apne pair te kharna. And they say, we can't wait till the day comes when we know you can stand on your own 2 feet and you can chala the car, that you can look after the house by yourself. And what they're saying is, I can't wait till I see the qualities in you as an individual, where I can hand over responsibility to you and say, "Tuhun kar sambhala, tere haath zimmewari hai." Now, that's in our own homes, and to do that often we need to get a job, we need to start contributing towards the house, maybe doing the bills, doing the shopping, whatever it is, household stuff. And eventually, you get recognized as an adult. And when you do that, you're in charge of the house, you look after the house, you now resume the responsibility. So what Bhai Sahib and what Benji have mentioned are two qualities that we need as youngsters to become adults, to become men in the eyes of our wider community. Because we do need to work together, because I know for a fact there's been times in the recent, let's say months, not even years, when there's been certain things which we couldn't sort out. We had to go to the elders and say, "Uncle Ji, can you do this? You've got the know-how, you've got the context, you've got the network at your level to sort this out," and they've done that. There's certain things that we as youngsters can do that they can't. Let's be honest. For example, social media is something that we said to the elders, "Can you get this message out as quickly as you can around the world?" They can't. If you come to a bunch of youngsters, if I said to you guys, "I need this one message sent around the globe within the next 24 hours, I know it can happen. You've got about 6 or 7 different ways of getting the message out. So there are certain things which we need the elders for, and there's certain things which they can't do that we then have to step up to. What Bhai Sahib said, what Benji said, is the qualities there that we need to develop in ourselves. If we just sit here saying, the elders don't give us a chance, don't give us a chance, yeah, that is true to an extent. But at the same time, we've got to develop and we've got to step up to the mark. At the moment, quite often a lot of us are scared. And absolutely, Bhai Sahib's right again. It's that fear that's created in our minds that you aren't capable. What I'm telling you is you are capable, because you know what? Most of us have jobs. And our jobs, we have responsibility. When they're paying us, we can take responsibility, we take risks. We present like this in front of hundreds of people, as long as someone's paying us. We're willing to debate and argue and do all sorts of things. We can arrange massive events when someone's paying us. So why is it that when it comes to doing the same thing for a community, for seva, suddenly we go, "Meko nahi hunda, I can't do it." And you do it every day at work, you do it every day at university. There's hardly anyone here who stood at university who won't have done a presentation. Very few courses that don't require presentation skills. Very few courses which don't require some kind of communication, written, verbal, whatever skills. So you have the skills amongst all of us here. Everyone here, everyone sitting here, everyone sitting at home has the skills. It's just the way we apply them. And I think I'm really happy that two very important qualities there were brought up. The ability to debate, to listen and learn and talk. And also leadership skills, which in itself is a whole new topic, which hopefully one day we can discuss, but what leadership skills are needed. I just wanted to say, we need to work together with our elders, but we need to step up to the mark as well.
Okay, quickly, I just want to add to this. The question that was asked at the start of this talk was, tell me of inspirational surme from our ityas. If you're going to be talking about Naujawan, you're going to be talking about the youth, tell us and inspire us about Naujawan from our ityas. That's what I was asking for. And I'm going to go on to the issues now, but before I go on to the issues, I want to touch upon a couple of points that you talked about. First of all is, listen, the ityas, no, I'll give you a couple of examples. Baji touched upon it, is that this is a massive thing. Maharaja Ranjit Singh, 19 saal di umar ch, at the age of 19, takes the Qila of Lahore. And then Khalsa Raj Alan ho gaya siga. At the age of 19. Baji said at the start of the talk, the fire burns in our bellies when we're younger. We have that passion. We have that commitment. This is our band. This is my nation. You have that connection. All the people that I'm going to talk about are people that have that feeling that this is my nation. They saw the wider family. And if people don't see that wider family, they're not going to feel the pain. Maharaja Ranjit Singh felt the pain as a result at the age of 19 took Lahore. Tell me which surma kithe Lahore le longe. Is koi kehne wali badi sokhi gall hai? 19 saal di umar ch Lahore le liya. That's a massive achievement. Took the place where all these dushman used to come from. Do you know what I mean? It's big. It's the inspirational stories that we have. You talk about another one by Shaheed Singh. When 700 Singh naal chale gaye si na, Banda Singh Bahadur de ko capture kita siga. They were chopping off 100 Singh's heads on a daily basis in Delhi. Ek kahani on the this is what I was hoping Indy would tell us, but he didn't, and I'm going to tell you. No, you better be sorry, because I don't want to talk in the first place. The situation was this: Bhai Shaheed Singh, check this out. Haje 17 saal di umar hai, ਵਿਆਹ ਹਜੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਹਟਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ. ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਦਾ ਵਾਰੀ ਆਈ ਨਾ ਲਾਈਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਇਹਦਾ ਸਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੱਟਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਉਹਦੀ ਮਾਤਾ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਲ ਗਿਆ. ਉਹਨੇ ਕੀ ਕੀਤਾ, ਆਪਣੀ ਮਾਤਾ ਦੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੋਲੇ ਸੂਬੇਦਾਰ ਸੀ ਇਲਾਕੇ ਦਾ, she got the main guy from her area, went to Delhi and said, listen, this is not a Sikh. ਇਹ ਸਿੱਖ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ. This guy is not a Sikh. He's been caught up in the crowd. You've taken him incorrectly. Please release him. They were about to release Bhai Jaspal Singh. They're about to release him. The Subedar comes over to the jail and in the queue, कि listen, आकला नौजवान ना ये सिख नहीं हैगा, इदी माता मेरे सामने बैठी है, ते इदी वाइफ भी कहती कि ये सिख नहीं, ठीक है? सुनो, this look at the inspiration here. वो कहते कि सिख नहीं हैगा. He's about to get killed, and you can see the rest of the people, sings and lines in front of him, about to get chopped up. What does Bhai Jaspal Singh do? What does he do? He turns around, eh, meri maa nahi hegi, runs to the front of the queue, goes to the executioner, mera pala sar wad. Sikhi na pyar se na. Apne panth na pyar se na. This is we're talking about what inspired these Naujawan. What was their upbringing like? Because when we're talking about upbringing, then we've got to talk about what's happening to our Naujawan today. Why have we got these issues happening today? There's one story I want to quickly touch upon just before I pass it back to yourself, is this. You touched upon the elders and the youngsters. मतलब एक story फिर दसना बंदा सिंह बहादुर समय दे ਉਹੀ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਹੋਈ ਸੀਗੀ. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜੇਲ੍ਹ ਚ ਕਦੋਂ ਸਿੰਘ ਨਾ ਉੱਥੇ 9 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਰਹੇ ਸੀਗੇ inside the what you call it killer. 9 months they did Shaheed on Banda Singh Bahadur. Kਦੋਂ ਆਖਰੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੱਢਿਆ ਨਾ, the Singhs were skeletons in one respect. ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬੁਰਾ ਹਾਲ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ. They're at the bark of the trees. But you know what I mean? That's how bad they were in the state they were. They put them in a prison cell. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ I want to show you something. You know the what you call it, the who's in charge of the prison. He wanted to show the Subedar. He said, "Don't touch the khana, because you're not going to believe this. I want to show you something." Okay, they put 4 Singhs. 4 Singh met ek cell ch paane ya. Right? This is what he did. He got a youngster, 6-7 saal da umar da. He got a Naujawan, hal chardi jawani 20 hona, yeah. He got another one for about 40, and he got a Buzurg. It 4 Singh ek cell ch paate sige. He pointed to the Subedar, कि मतलब कुछ गाल दिखानी. अब तू देख, तू आप देखे कि हो रहा. He picks up one piece of bread, and he puts it in the hands of the Buzurg. Buzurg de हाथ च उन्हें पाता for the piece of bread. Buzurg ने की किया? उन्हें क्या छोटे नू, कि छोटा सिगा, कि मेरा तो हन समा आना, I'm gonna finish soon anyway. I'm at the age कि तू हैगा मा the future of this nation. तू शक, तू ताकत ले. उन्हें फड़ाता. The छोटा 7 साल की उम्र ने छोटी उम्र सीगी. He looked at his elder brother. He goes, look, मैं तो छोटा, मैं कुछ कर भी नहीं सकता, मैं खा भी लिया. I'm too young to do anything. पर तू है मैं तो थोड़ा बड़ा सीरीज हैगा. तू शक. उन्हें फड़ाता. वो कहता नौजवान चढ़ती कला हैगा सी 20 साल. वो कहता कि मैं हजे अपना साम सकदा. मैं कहला एकला मेरा हैगा वा बड़ा वीर. ਇਹ ਜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੱਡਾ ਵੀ ਆ, ਤਾਕਤ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, ਇਹਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਅਕਲ ਮਤਲਬ ਵਿਜ਼ਡਮ ਵੀ ਹੈਗਾ, ਇਹਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਫੜਾ ਦਿੰਦਾ. He passed it back to him. What did that 40-year-old do? He picked up that bread, put it back in place of the Buzurg. I said, ਬਾਪੂ ਜੀ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਿਆਣੇ ਆ, ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਲੱਗਦੇ ਆ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਛਕੋ. ਪਿਆਰ ਸੀ ਨਾ, one family. It was one family. They saw each other, regardless of the age, like you said, Paji. Regardless of the age, they saw all of us, the same family, fighting for the same cause. This is the message that you get from that one story. I thought I'd share that, and I'll pass it back to you before I get carried away.
So now, because he told me off, I thought I will share an example. When we look at history, sometimes a lot of us are scratching our heads thinking, I can't think of any examples of Naujawan. Because I'll be honest, even in my head, even though I'm sitting on the panel here, when I was thinking Naujawan, I was thinking kids. But then I looked around the room, look at Bhai Jaspal Singh Brahma over there, Bhai Talvinder Singh over there, looking this way. None of these guys have got white beards. If you look at a recent history, the vast majority of the Singhs were Shaheed, were younger than us. I'm 30 years old. The vast majority of the Shaheeds who fought after 1984, both in 1984 at Darbar Sahib and afterwards, were younger than us. Sadi umar te chote si. So when we talk about Naujawan, what Naujawan can do, what the youth can do, we've seen what they have done. We are here because of what they've done. So an inspiration, look at them. They didn't let age stop them, did they? And another story, which again, sometimes a penny drops when we talk about age, right? How old's the average person who gets married now? 23, 24, Nikki, honey, maybe some a bit younger, some a bit older. So if we jump back 200, 300 years, you know, you could take a few more years off that on average, you know. So let's say a few years ago, people are getting married at 19, 20 maybe, latest. So Mir Manu's prisons, right, with all the Singhania, all the wives of the Singhs used to be picked up and forced to labour, who were tortured, who had their kids ripped up in front of their eyes, fed to dogs, who had their kids torn into pieces and put in hard around their necks, who had their children thrown in the air and caught on spears, whilst the Mughals laughed in their faces and taunted them and said to them, convert to Islam, convert to Islam. These Bibiyan who were married probably on average at the age of 18, 19, 20, wouldn't be more than 22, 23. We're looking at Naujawan, what youth have done in our history. Sometimes we don't realise just how young our history is, and just how young some of the people were. These younger Bibiyan would have been around about the age of 20, younger than us, 10 years younger than me, and yet they're sitting there doing Vaheguru Bias, reading Gurbani. All their kids are being ripped to pieces, but they refuse to give up their Sikhi. So we talk about inspiration. These were younger Bibiyan. There would have been Bajurg in there as well. I'm not taking anything away from the elders, but the ones who had young children, just looking at physical age, would have been younger than us. Many of them would have been younger than us. So I just wanted to say that before you went to the next question.
I want to pick up from what Indrajit Singh was saying. That was one example that was in my mind. But I think what Benji said, touched on earlier, is identity. I think that is the biggest thing. Now, Bhai Indrajit just spoke about Mir Manu's jail, and that was an example I was going to think of as well. But if you think about it, at that time, Mir Manu, what did he say to them Bibiya? He said that I'm going to cut you into pieces, I'm going to cut Sikhi from there. And what did the Bibiya reply? The more you cut us, the more we will grow. And they've seen that in Mir Manu's jail. They did that in 1984. Sanjar Nail Singh, when they started the Tarmiyat Morcha, so many Gursikhs, so many people who were not into Sikhi came back to the Sikh identity, and they fought and they gave their Shaheediyah. And from 84 onwards. And what did the government do in 1984? They tried to use the old tactics of Mir Manu. They tried cutting Sikhi by just killing them. And then throughout up until in the 90s, they've kept killing them, and they realised, hang on, this is still not working, because that tactic is never going to work with the Sikhs. Jinna marji wari jo, unne jade foot aayi jane Gursikh, paida hui jane. But what is the key behind all of them is identity. What is our identity? The first step of it is for all the parents out there is think, have I given my child the identity of a Gursikh, that they can go out and juj like that? Have we come into the identity of a Gursikh? What is the first thing? Is gaze. At the times of Bhai Taru Singh, the Sikhs were also being hunted. They were being hunted and they were being killed, and there was a price on their heads. Bhai Taru Singh wasn't even a Jujaru Singh. He was a Sevadar. He was going out into the jungles and he was feeding the Jujarus. They took him and they tried to cut his gaze. He did not give up his identity. We so quickly sometimes, people, including myself, not just gays, just any way we give up our identity. We have to be strong in our identity. Like Indrajit Singh said, all these guys, all these banners that are around us, they're all young. But one thing that they would never ever wanted to give up was their identity. Bhai Jaspal Singh went to that Gurdaspur Chowk for that day. It was all in Saband of Bhai Rajwana, but he went for the identity of a Gursikh. What is the identity? He went for the dastar. The star karke unhone the star lies, he went for the identity. Because of that, we have to be strong in our identity. They tried killing us off by just killing us, but what are they doing now? They are still killing us off like that, but not as much, because as you can see, there's not as many being killed off like that. But what's the new tactic? You know, like if you get weeds growing in your garden, don't you? If you pull them out, they just grow back 2 days later. They've tried that with Sikhs. They've pulled us out of the ground from the roots, from Mir Manu's jails, the youngest of the children, and they've just come back. So they thought, hang on, that's not going to work. If you want to get rid of a weed, what's the best way? You get that spray, don't you? Weedle and all that kind of stuff, you know, the adverts you get. You put that spray on there, that weed will not come back. What is the spray that they're using on the Gursikhs, on Sikhi at the moment? They're attacking Barni, they're attacking Barna, and they're breaking us from our roots. Without the roots, a tree can never stand. So because of that, we have to go back to our roots. What are our roots? What is the core of Sikhi, our identity, Gurbani? And that is one thing we really need to get back onto to be able to get, before any other solution, is get our identity and back to our roots and back to the basics.
Just want to add, before I move on to my point, Bhai Taru Singh, he was 25 years old. In the photos that we see of Bhai Taru Singh, he looks like like a middle-aged man. He was no middle-aged man. He was 25 years old. And just want to come to someone, an example of a youngster, of a Naujawan in in the past century, Bhai Kartar Singh Sarabha, which we just talked about last Sunday. He was 19 years old when he attained Shaheedi. And what did he do? He started by whatever means he could start a movement. How did he start the movement? He used this media, of the tools of media that he had at the time. He started a newspaper. He was padhya likhya. He went to University of California, Berkeley, Otto padhya sega, and then he started his own newspaper, which was translated into many different languages, which gave instructions how, Jamir Jagonavaste, poems, poetry, stories of other Jajarus, and, how to train yourself, how to have that ekta, how to communicate with each other. He was providing the average banda, the Muslim, the Hindu, the Sikh, anyone who wanted freedom, the tools to get that freedom. And he did that by starting a newspaper. And what have we got today? We've got it even easier than that. Bhai Kartar Singh Sarabha had to go, pehla on a type, pehla likhna hath de naal, fir typewriter te, fir jaake kisi ko jaake, then get it onto a printing block, a printing press. Then do the kitchen of printing it all and then sending out to all these different countries. We can sit on our phones. Most of our time is billa. If you think about it, the reason we say we're not billa because we're doing faltu kam. Now the thing is, we've got the biggest tools right in the palms of our hands, and that is social media, and we need to exploit it. We need to use it. So instead of making faltu posts, I'm at falana jaga, I'm at falani, you know what, talk about real issues. So the people who are on your Facebook, the people who are on your social media sites, you know what, who don't even know much about Sikhi, when they go on their wall, those issues are coming up bar over and over again. And that's the only way we're going to keep these galan alive. Taking examples of our young Sikhs like Kartar Singh Sarabha.
We've got dilemmas of alcohol problem, drug problem, conversions, domestic violence, you name it. We've got these issues at our doorstep. How do we tackle it? Because this is, I'm only touching the tip of the iceberg here, and I can't go into too many specific cases, but I thought I'd share a couple with you just to give you insight of some of the things that are happening out there. A majority of people don't want to know or don't know. Because if you identify a problem, then you're in a boat that says you have to do something about this now. A majority of people don't want to know. They don't want to know that this is happening in their back garden, their doorstep. What do you reckon the issue is, and what the halla? I'll tell you what our solutions are, but first the sangat have to get together and give their side of the story first.
I'm not very good at talking, but I'll just say what I think, what I feel. I think the biggest thing we need to do first is pyar amongst each other. Because I think a lot of us, sometimes we look at each other and go, I know he's some jata, this jata, whatever. We need to break that down. If we've got pyar amongst each other, it's a big thing. And then if you see someone that needs help on the road or anything like that, anyone out there as well, we should help our people. Once when we start helping each other, and people, if you look at other communities out there, the Kale, the Muslim, they've got unity. And if we got pyar, we'll get the unity. So if we can start looking at each other with pyar and the unity comes, and when any issue comes to our Panta, Qom, or in our community, we'll stand up for each other. So when you see a bibi or you see a brother in trouble, help him. Stop your car if you see him, even if it's just broken down, stop your car and say, Paddy, are you okay? Do you need any help? And that little bit of love, that feeling of that you just try to help somebody, though he might not take that help off you, say, I'm okay, but you've tried to do something, you've planted some good karma. That good karma will come back to you one day. But you've implanted something to his head as well, that you've stopped. And next time he sees somebody that needs help, he'll help him. So everything really comes down just helping each other. And believe we're all one, If we've got ekta, it's about ekta, it's all about ekta and pyar, but the big word's pyar. If we've got pyar, the ekta will come amongst each other. There's a lot of friction between Barney and whatever people will say. Amongst ourselves, we need to break that down. We are one. If we look at that and we can go forward, use the word pyar and help each other, man. That's what it's all about, man. Seva karo, help each other, man. If you can look at each other and say, we're going forward, man. And that's what my personal view is. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Fateh.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I think I was sitting in the audience and I was just looking at the India and Kamil, everyone else has mentioned something. And I was looking at it, and I think this gives a message on its own. Look at Shaheed Bhai Jaspal Singh. Look at the way he's standing as a youth. Until we don't look like this and feel like this, would we be able to inspire Sikhs or inspire anyone else? Or will we be able to have Sadda Haq? Or do we need to go back to basics of Sikhi and start again? We're at the, I'm just trying to give a message. We're here at the annual conference. Do we need to take something away from this? Do we need a structure for youth? Baji touched on Gurdwara and so on, and social media. We've started Sikh TV channels. We're 3 years ahead. We've got such a massive opportunity to do something together as a Naujawan. Maybe this needs to be the start. you know, of some sort of structure. Even on Sunday, there has to be something. We've been here 15 years, going, you know, and so was Indy, and so was some of the youth in this audience, Sukhi and so on. We've all been here and we've all heard the problems. We've been there. We've known how other religions can get together in minutes, and we're always struggling because we can't find people's numbers, or people ain't answering the phones because they don't want to know. And it's exactly true. People are saying we don't want it to come at our door. It's you know, and it's another example I heard the other day is that okay, Bhagat Singh hove, but sadhe ghar na hove, gyandiyan de hove. And this is the problem we've got. Until we don't understand and think of it, actually feel proud. It comes back to this, feeling proud and understanding the religion and wanting it from within. Waheguru Ji Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Fateh.
I think both the Bhai Sahibs there picked on very, very good points, and they come down to a similar point that the first Bhai Sahib said. It's about pyar and working together, because there is people out there that are doing or trying to do a difference, because if there wasn't, we wouldn't even be sat here today. So I think that's a positive that we take from it, that at least we're sat here, that Nojwans have come together in the memory of a Nojwan that was Shaheed last year. But one point I want to pick up from the first Bhai Sahib, what they said about that pyar and ekta. What happened when we had that pyar and ekta? In the times when Hindu women used to get taken from their house, and they were being taken all over the place, by Ahmad Shah Abdali and people of that time, Baba Deep Singh and the Gursikhs of that time, they were the people, it was the Sikhs that were returning home the Bibiyan of other faiths. But now it's turned on us because we haven't got that pyar. That was so strong pyar, no one would ever think about taking a Bibi of a Gursikh. But we were going out and protecting others. But it's turned totally the other way, and it's happening on our doorstep that they're taking our Bibiyan. And this is happening to us because that is all broken. And we have to be able to come back together under one platform. Like this weekend, we said this party is from the whole youth of England. And it's really good to see that some Jathebandiya have come together, but we need to increase that. Anyone that is doing anything within the youth, we have to support them rather than kitching their lap down. That's what we're good at these days. But we have to really come back to that point, what they were saying. All of these problems can only be tackled if we unite. Otherwise, it's just like some of the Gursikhs that are doing great favor, like Kam said that he's involved with those, some of these, or whoever's involved in these cases, they're going out, they're doing as much as they can, but they haven't got that support, and that support comes from the structures. If you look at other people within this country, look at the Jews, the Jewish community in this country, look how well they're doing. Why is that? Because they've got a structure. That structure starts from, firstly, from our home, then within our community, within schools, and through education. And where's that education going to come from? You can open schools these days. There's many Sikh schools that are opening around the country. We need to support these causes and get involved with them. And then on top of that, we've mentioned Bhai Jagraj Singh said earlier about Gurdwara. We need to access Gurdwara. Even if it's not straight away, you go in there and you become the Pradhan, because like they say, Rome wasn't built in one day. But you have to get in there. Even if we're just in our local areas, you start weekly classes. You start weekly sessions where you're bringing them Nojwan together and they understand what Sikhi is, and you build that community, because just saying it is not going to build us that pyar back. It has to be practically put in. There's Nojwans that go around the country tirelessly. There's many different organisations that are involved in this part that go around tirelessly. Not just on a once a year, let's do it for a week and then that's it, we'll forget about it. Weekly, monthly basis, on a daily basis even, they get together as Nojwan, they go around, and that is what's going to build the community, because it's that belonging, that feeling of belonging. You belong to something then, and once you become part of that, the problem is we haven't got anywhere where we feel that we belong to them. So they give us a bit of attention, like I'm saying, and they pressure you a little bit, you break. But we need to come back together, and we need to come back to the basics of Sikhi, like what you just said, Bhai Sahib. That is where it all comes from, but we need to do that in the roop of sangat as well. We have to come to the Gurdwara, sit together, and then vichar about Sikhi, and then these other Muslims. It'll be a lot easier to have because we're one together. And then we'll get back to the days of, never mind going back to get our Bibiya, we'll be back helping the others, because that's what Guru Gobind Singh Ji started this pant for. But at the moment, we're struggling to help ourselves because we've gone away from Sikhi, we've gone away from Sangat. Maharaj and his Sangat, why did Maharaj put so much importance on Sangat? Because you have that pyar then within that Sangat. You all sit on that same platform. So we need to break away from doing irka with each other, help each other, and then we can, as we develop, we'll be able to tackle these issues.
Just before Bhai Jagraj Singh jumps up, I just want to say this now, because a lot of Singhs won't say this because they do a lot of seva, and most people won't say this is what I do. So again, I'm not going to point at individuals, But this Akhand Paat Sahib, this whole seva has been done by a load of Singhs from a load of different groups. So I just want to very quickly just mention, you know? And again, if I don't mention everyone, I do apologise. But just on this panel, you've got people from Courageous, you've got people from United Sikhs, you've got people from Sikh2Inspire, people from Sikh Nojawan Academy. You've already heard from Bhai Sahib, Basics of Sikhi. You've got Singhs from Shere Punjab who've been doing seva for years, Sikh Nojawan Academy, Sikh Helpline, MMA Lions. These are all Nojawan, youth-created, youth-led, youth effort groups. And if you look here, this is amazing, that all these people are doing a little bit of seva in their area, working together wherever they can, but taking responsibility for their own areas. And as Baji said, brilliant thing, let's not do the bad things that we've seen, which is kitching each other's latta. Let's promote each other, let's help each other, because we're going to one goal, which is Vaheguru.
So Sagaji, when we think about unity, yeah, it's been going on for a long time, everybody goes, we've got to unite, we've got to unite. The one thing that's been resonating in my head, yeah, is that before you even try to get unity, you've got to understand what unity might look like. You understand what that united front might be. And unfortunately, a lot of us in our minds think of unity as uniformity. Uniformity means we all look the same. Yeah? And unity means no matter what we look like, we unite. If you have the wrong end in mind, if you start aiming for uniformity, what will happen is we'll stand here like this and we'll say, we all got to unite. Flana will come up and say, I want to unite with you. You look at him and you say, maybe not with you, because you're not my type. You're looking for unity, but the problem is, inside you, you haven't conquered the demon. The demon is, you want uniformity actually. And until you yourself can destroy that demon of uniformity, it's like a false god, because it can never happen. Bani would tell you it will never happen. Rangi rangi pati kar kar jinsi maya jani upai. He made this world of rang berang, but we want it all to be the same. He's made it this way. We didn't make the world. Asi kuch nahi kita, karta purukh ne kita hai. So until we start to understand the concept, the false god that we have inside us of uniformity, and I can tell you, I faced this myself. When I started doing this stuff, I was just doing on YouTube, pata. But you think, chalo, sabne share, everybody's going to share it, because it's basics. It's not hitting on any jathebandi, but not everybody shares it. The reality is, people will look at you and they'll say, yeah, I like what you're saying, your stuff is good, but I'm not going to share it amongst my followers, amongst my group, because you don't look like one of us. Yeah? We all have that false god of uniformity inside us. Yeah? And that false god needs to be destroyed. You need to be the point where you can look at a munna who's got a patka on and not even care. Nowadays, and then what happens is, it will come out at some point. You need to get yourself to the point where you just think about not about uniformity at all. Just, is this guy on my side, or is he not on my side? If he's on my side, he's going to help me, we're united. Yeah? But what unfortunately we think our side consists of is sometimes the wrong thing. So getting the right end in mind helps. So if Bhai Sahib is, you can see somebody's taksali, you can see somebody is jatha, you can see somebody's from the nihang mindset, but can we look at that person and think, actually, in the long term, he's on my side. And it's a good example of this from Ramkali Kiwar. Patta de Shabad kehande hege, when they're talking about Satyam Balwant, they say to Guru Angad Dev Ji, they say, Nede dekhe maat log, tud sujje dur. They say, Maharaj, everybody thinks very small. Most people are thinking 1 year ahead. Most people are thinking 6 months ahead. But he sees far, far away. How far does he see? He sees as far as Satjug. He sees the Khalsa Panth taking this world to Satjug. But that should be our aim in mind. An age of enlightenment. And that's not going to come by us looking at every person and saying, I wish you looked like me first. Then we could rule the world. Yeah? No. It's going to have to come to say, we're going to unite Dharam versus Ataram. That's the war. When we start breaking that wall down, maybe we'll look at the Hindus, and we look at them and we'll say, oh, to kende hai you're Hindu, we're Sikh. We'll say, actually, no. Krishna Ji is on our side. Ram Ji is on our side. We're the side of Dharam. You guys are Adharam. You are the exploitive. You are the Dusht. You are the Dokyan. And our come is to destroy you. But those guys, they would have been on our side. So it's Dharam versus Adharam. That's the argument we need to start thinking in our mind. And then we'll get rid of this idea of this false god of uniformity. So it's just mentally, we need to get it inside us. And the second thing I was going to say is, we have to start finding the right battle. There's no point uniting to fight a battle when it's not the right battle. Yeah? The right battle, and to give you a good example, at the moment, We are 10% of the Panth which is into Sikhi. Yeah? 90% is not into Sikhi. 90% aren't watching this. The 10% are watching this right now. 90% are totally bored of the Gurdwara, are not interested, and they look at people like me and they think he's going to judge me. Before you even got up and started saying anything, they switched off. Yeah? Their listening has gone from receive to no longer receiving. Why is that? We've pushed them away. Reality is we push them away. We policing the 10%. We're watching the 10% all the time. 10% is policing 10%, 90% are just not even interested. So the right battle has to be of getting people back into the Gurdwara. Has to be about uniting those people that aren't in the Gurdwara. So we need to make it palatable for them. I mean, I mostly see most of the Jathis and the people that are doing the classes and stuff as level 2. And I see myself as level 1. So trying to get people to say, what does Ik Onkar even mean? Before you even get into like what you should look like, what you should read. Pelas message is samlabo. Understand the real arth of this gyan that Maharaj is giving you. Then people start to respect the roop. Before they even understand the roop, they have to understand the path of Sikhi. Why are they walking this path? So I think we need to ourselves start finding the right battle. Find the long-term battle. Don't find the short-term battle that will solve today's problem. In Southall, I'll give you a good example. The youth will turn up for Tasveer da Morcha. You will have 200 people sleep overnight in a Gurdwara for the sake of a picture. Yeah? They will do it. You will have 10,000 people come to Hyde Park, yeah, to protest. But when you want something really done, that involves standing on the street and handing out leaflets, or inviting people to a talk and saying, you get 10 people. But we can't even get together. I'll tell you at the moment, there's not many people working full time in our Panth. And personally, I would say, to even get, you know, like you have a graph, yeah? And you have that middle line, which is a 0. Yeah, let's say we're at -10 at the moment. The graph from -10 is going downwards. We're already at -10 now, it's going downwards. In order to recorrect this graph back to 0, even back to a level playing field, we're going to take about 20 people working full time for 10 years, even get to 0. We're already at -10. Otherwise, it's going to keep on getting worse. To sare soch levo, 20 people working full time in just this small little country, traveling up and down, hitting every school, every college, every Gurdwara. It's going to have, if you don't do it now, in 10 years' time, it's going to be worse than now. Don't think it's going to get better. I would not say things are getting better. I would say things are getting worse. Because in Punjab, where the real people were, right, they're going. They're going to be nasha wale. So the Panth is global, isn't it? Yeah? And the strength of the Panth was in Punjab. So they're killing us at our strength. So us lot here, we're doing a lot, but in reality, in the bigger picture, we're losing. We're losing our feet from underneath us. Unless we spend time now, 20 people, 10 years, work hard, we may be at 0. Not even at the top, we may be at 0. Otherwise, we're going to go below -10. So, Binti Hagiya, don't keep it just one to yourself. Take it out. Put it into SOPW. Put it into Khalsa Aid. Put it into all the organizations that are doing stuff. Put it into Sikh2Inspire. Sikh2Inspire should have 5 people working full time. Why not? Jururi nahi hai ki they do it in the weekends and part time. It doesn't happen that way. Look at every other organization, every other Panth, call it, every other group that is successful has got full-time people working. Yeah? And a good example is, when you look at Guru Gobind Singh Ji, when they were Hazur Sahib, the Singh said to them, Maharaj, we haven't had our tankha. Guru Gobind Singh Ji said, here, take my tal, go to Flana spot, dig down, and you will find gold. Take out enough gold to put in this tal and come back, leave the rest there. That tal is still there. There's still a Gurdwara with the tal of Guru Gobind Singh Ji. That meant the Singhs at the time did get tankha from Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Nowadays we got an idealized version of how it worked. They worked for free. Nobody ever took anything from seva. That's in our mind. That's another false god. And it doesn't work that way. So all the sevadars, a benti to the people that are working and doing stuff, don't get fooled into thinking that you shouldn't be taking a tankha and quitting your full-time job. Yeah, it's going to be a cut anyway. You know, roughly, for people to work nowadays on prachar, they got to take a 50 to maybe even, a higher percentage cut of their salary. But it's worth it. Imagine what other job would give you the chance to go around the world and do prachar, talk about Guru all day long and do simran with people. For some people, it's their dream job. Yeah? For some people, it's their dream job. Other people think, "Main nahi karna." You don't need those. The ones that think it's their dream job, we need to get those people on board. Yeah? As it says in Bani, "Sevak sev kari sab teri, jin sab de saad aya." Those people who get the swad of Shabad, who love singing Shabad, we need to get them in and talking about it. Yeah? We need a lot more people. So don't expect that guy on there to be doing it. We need about 15, 20 people doing it. Yeah? We need a lot more people. So my solution is every 10 people get together, one person quits their job, and the 10th person does prachar full time. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
I just wanted to touch upon that point, Vijay, about the employing sevadars. It's a great mechanism that we can bring forward. However, I was going to mention a quote from Mother Teresa where she does say that because we're too busy judging people, we've got no time to love them. And one problem that we are having is it's very difficult to bring the youth into the Gurdwaras and bring them into Sikhi. And I just wanted to throw a question out to the audience as well as the panel. And how can we achieve that? How can we bring the youth back into the Gurdwara, and how can we teach them about Sikhi and again our identity about this is who we are?
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I think one of the solutions is the time's probably come now where the Gurdwara, every Gurdwara in England needs to have a community centre or a base where it provides services for the whole community. We had one in Smethwick about 10 years ago. It was doing really well. Problem is always the same thing. Committee changes, the wrong people come in and centres close down. The centre has a knock-on effect on the whole community. So all these issues, what we're talking about, conversions, they're happening because we haven't got a base. When we were growing up 15, 20 years ago, we used to come Gurdwara every week, spend about 3 hours on a Sunday, and we'd interact with everybody, with the elders, and we'd learn something about Sikhi. But the problem now is we're coming to the Gurdwara, doing Matadik and having langar and going home. There's no interaction for the youth to learn something about Sikhi. The problem is that elders don't want to help us in order to help them. We need the elders for their guidance, but they need us for our passion. But the problem is we're not getting through to them. They don't want to give us a platform. They don't want us coming into the committees. One of the solutions is every committee in the Gurdwara in England has to have half the committee made up of youth. It has to be done. But how it's going to happen, we have to step up. The time's gone now. We've lost about a generation in the last 10 years simply because we haven't been bothered to step up. And when the elections happen in the committees, to say, hold on, we're going to go in the committee. It's always the case. We think, oh, you know what, forget it, there's going to be fights, let's stay at home. Sitting at home and doing nothing isn't going to help anybody. It's not going to achieve anything. And, you know, everybody, me included, we're all busy. We got work and jobs and stuff. But I think a lot of what the guys have said is true, that we need to step up now and actually become active.
Just want to go on what Bhai just said. We need to provide something. We need to think of what Benji asked. The question was, how do we bring the youth? How do we bring people into our Gurdwara Sahib? We need to be in the Gurdwara Sahib first. If we're not in the Gurdwara Sahib, who are the youth going to come and talk to? The Bjorg who does Prashad Di Seva, who doesn't even know a word of English. If we can't, Paji talked about, you know what, the swand kadna and get one person full time. If we cannot give the swand of our money, of our earnings, we need to give the swand of our time. Because the thing is, one of the main issues what our youth face when they go to Gurdwara Sahibs is we don't take enough of the seva that's there offered at Gurdwara Sahibs. If when we step up to the mark, we start, you know what, every Sunday, 3-4 of us get together, we're going to do Jode Andi Seva, we're going to do Pandey Andi Seva, we're going to do the Seva, which, you know what, no one else wants to do. That way, when you say something in that committee, when you say something in that Guru Kar, you want to bring about change, no one can stand up and say, Oi, tu kaun hunda, tu da aunda nahi Guru Kar, tera ki hak bolan da. You can say, Mera hak hega bolan da, main ithe seva karda. Apa is Guru Kar aida. That's how we're going to bring about change. When we bring about changes in ourselves, when we lose that lazy puna. We are all lazy. Asi, you know what, apa soniya dastaran saja ke programma te chal janne ha, bane sone pa ke gatre vein fancy pa ke ye. But when it comes down to the you know the pinch of it, When it comes to the Pandey and they say, well, you got Buddhiyan, you got Bjorg Bibiyan doing the seva. And ਸਾਡੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਆ ਬੇਸ਼ਰਮ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਪੀਜ਼ਾ 버ਗਰ chips ਖਾਂਦੇ ਆ. The thing is, we need to step up. When we step up to that, when we lose that lazy puna, when we lose that sharm, that bisharmi, that's when we're gonna become empowered. Maharaj said, "In garib sikanako deho paat sahi." We need to become garib of ego. We need to become garib of our jathe. We need to become garib of the ego that we hold of our jathe. And when we become garib, we will get that paat-shahi. And that's when, you know what, people will look to us, the youth, and say, you know what, I want to be like them. We need to get involved, lads. When youth, you know, when we have Nagar Kirtans, when we have all kinds of initiatives, when apne monne veer pra, when the monne pehna see that, you know what, Singhs are doing seva, they're holding it down, that we're like, you know, we need to do something as well. They're just like us. They've got 2 eyes. They've got 2 hands, 2 feet. They've got work. They've got jobs. They're studying as well. And the thing is, we need, you know, at the same time, we can't lose sight of our spiritual education as well. And you know what, Paji mentioned about the Jews earlier on, I just want to touch upon that. The Jews, a boy at the age of 13 has to go through a religious ceremony called his bar mitzvah. And in that ceremony, he has to stand up in front of his community, in front of his people, in front of his family, and prove that, you know what, I am ready to be one of you. And the way he proves that, he reads from the Torah. And you know what it is? Even us, we think, oh no, I ain't got time, I need to revise, oh, I need to do this, man. I need to start thinking about my studies, my A-levels, my uni, this, that, and the other. Don't you think the Jews think about that? And they're one of the most successful people here. They give up the swand of their time. They commit it not only to their faith, to their community. And you know what? Today, that's what I want to say. My benti is to everyone's charan. You know what? We need to hijack our Gurdwara, literally hijack our Gurdwara. And the way we're going to hijack our Gurdwara is by getting in the Gurdwara ourselves. And that is by doing the Nimi Seva that no one else wants to do.
And just a couple of points that I wanted to mention. One is I'm really passionate about. Benji mentioned identity, and Bhai Jaspal Singh mentioned about how Sikhi is being taken away from our roots and what's that Bani. I feel that it's a part of every single Amritari to do Sankhya. If you're not Amritari, even better. But every single Singh should do Sankhya.
To learn Bani correctly, how can they take it away from us if it's in here? If it's in here, they can't. So I think I urge every Singh to do Santhya. It's in loads of Gurdwara now. Up and down the country, there's loads of Singhs doing Santhya. My child's going to grow up one day. Is there going to be somebody to teach him Santhya? Luckily, I have done it. 5 years I spent doing Santhya, and a lot of Singhs are with me also spent 5 years doing Santhya. Another point Benji mentioned is how to get the youth, and Munne maybe you could say, into the Gurdwara. I was a Munni, and the way I came into Gurdwara is by just going to Punjabi school. But I remember coming into Sikhi, there was the youth forum here at Smethwick Gurdwara, and there's some of the Singhs here that actually used to run it. I can still, to this day, remember some of the points they mentioned, and they're stuck in my head, and I lived them points, and I'm here today because of it. So I think people say, oh, boys and girls get together, they look at each other, this and the other. What's going to happen? But the point is that Sikhi is being taught, that there's vichar going on, that there is somewhere where people can come and not be judged. Another point, sorry. I think Baji mentioned a great point about the debating team. I watched that film, and I think that's something that I think somebody should pick up on here and maybe introduce it to one of these Gurdwara here. And that's something I think is brilliant, because that's the way you're going to get people to know Gyan. People say to me, oh, Gandhi this, and my sister said I'm doing a project on Gandhi. I didn't know what to say. I know we don't like him, there's points that I could say, but there's nothing bulletproof, there's no points I could actually say. I think the debating team would actually give us that insight that we can go and say to people. I think that's why we're scared. Sometimes we can't do any prajar or do anything, because we haven't got that full 100% Gyan. That's all I wanted to say. Wajika Khasa Wajpate.
Benji just made an excellent point about, talked about Punjabi schools. Punjabi schools are in most Gurdwara Sahibs around the country. And you know what? Everyone's got access to a Punjabi school. The thing is, we are facing attacks from our youth, from all aspects. you know, from our elderly people, you know, ਸਾਡੇ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗਾਂ ਤੇ ਅਟੈਕ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਆ, ਸਾਡੇ ਦੇ in our age bracket we're being attacked as well by, you know, vicar which we face in the community, in today's society. But then we're looking at the youngest brothers and sisters as well. Every single one of us can go every week on a Sunday, spend 5 minutes. 5 minutes is nothing. 5 minutes to go into each class here and speak to the kids and just talk, give one sakhi about Guru Nanak Dev Ji, about Guru Gobind Singh Ji, about our itihas. Kids are like sponges. You know what? This is our virsa. We've got to sambal it. We take example from the Jews and the Musliman. They send their kids without fail. You know what? Pardon, na pardon, koi parwah nahi, par jida the masjid on the madrasa, they will send their kids, pama adda marya vi niyana hove hai na, shattar patanga karke they send their kids to the madrasa because they want them to learn about their faith. We have to step up. We have to think, because the thing is, we can talk to our younger brothers and sisters, we can relate to them. We need to go into the Gurdwara, and that's another step forward, that's another foot inside the Gurdwara Sahib.
ਅੱਜ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਦਿਵਸ ਸੀਗਾ ਭਾਈ ਜਸਪਾਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਦਾ। ਅੱਜ ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਨੂੰ। ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਦੇਖੀਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਭਾਈ ਜਸਪਾਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ। ਆਪਾਂ 1 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਧੱਕਾ ਹੋਇਆ, ਭਾਈ ਜਸਪਾਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਨਾਲ ਧੱਕਾ ਹੋਇਆ, ਪਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਾਥ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਭਾਈ ਜਸਪਾਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਕੀਤਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਾਤਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿਰੁੱਧ ਮੁਹਿੰਮ ਚਲਾਈ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਕੁ ਸਾਥ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਅੱਜ ਤਾਈਂ। ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਮੰਗਾਂ ਕੀ ਸੀ? ਬਾਬਾ ਜਰਨੈਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਚਲਾਇਆ ਉਹ ਕੀ ਸੀ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਸਾਡਾ? ਅੱਜ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਯੂਕੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 200 ਤੋਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਹੋਣਾ। ਕਿੰਨੇ ਕੁ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਸਟੇਜਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਆ? ਗਿਣਤੀ ਤੇ ਹੁਣੇ ਉਂਗਲਾਂ ਤੇ ਗਿਣ ਸਕਦੇ 4 ਜਾਂ 5 ਜਾਂ 10, ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ। ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਹੁਣ ਵੀ ਬਣ ਰਹੇ ਆ। ਕਿਉਂ ਬਣ ਰਹੇ ਆ? ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਬਣਨੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ, ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ, ਪਰ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀਆਂ ਕਮੇਟੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੜਾਈਆਂ ਹੀ ਵੱਧ ਰਹੀਆਂ। ਇਹ ਲੜਾਈਆਂ ਵੱਧ ਰਹੀਆਂ, ਸਿੱਖ ਪੰਥ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਫੁੱਟ ਪੈ ਰਹੀ ਆ। ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਆ, ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਕੁ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੰਭਾਲ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਕਿੰਨਾ ਕੁ ਸੰਭਾਲ ਰਿਹਾ? ਸਾਡੀ ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਆ? ਉਹ ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਸਿਰਫ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ। ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਆ ਹੋਇਆ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਦੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਅਸੀਂ ਬਾਹਰਲੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਮਝਾ ਰਹੇ। ਸਾਡੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਆ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੀ ਧੱਕਾ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ 1957 ਤੋਂ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ, 1947 ਤੋਂ, ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ ਮੁਗਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਰਾਜ ਵੇਲੇ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ, ਬਾਬਾ ਨਾਨਕ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਤੋਂ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਧੱਕਾ। ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਉਠਾਉਂਦੇ ਰਹੇ, ਪਰ ਇਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ ਸਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਉਹ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ, ਬਾਹਰ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂਦੀ? ਇਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਘਾਟ ਆ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਦੀਆਂ ਲੱਤਾਂ ਖਿੱਚਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਹੁਣ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਹੋਰਾਂ ਨੇ ਦਿੱਤੀ, ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਦੀ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਵੀ ਦੇਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ। ਬਾਬਾ ਜਗਰਾਜ ਸਿੰਘ ਤੂਫਾਨ ਜੀ, ਉਹ 6 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਸੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕਿਆ, ਟਕਸਾਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਣਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ। ਬਾਬਾ ਠਾਕਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਕੋਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੋਏ 13 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਉਮਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਗ੍ਰਿਫਤਾਰੀ ਹੋਈ। 14 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਉਮਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਜੇਲ੍ਹ ਤੋੜ ਕੇ ਭੱਜੇ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਠਾਕਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਹੋਰਾਂ ਕੋਲੇ ਗਏ ਸੀ। ਤੇ ਜਥੇਦਾਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਵਾਲਾ ਜੀ, ਉਹ 14 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਉਮਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੀਗੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹ ਜੇਲ੍ਹ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗਏ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਇਸੇ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਗਏ। ਭਾਈ ਜਗਤਾਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਹਵਾਰਾ ਜੀ, ਉਹ 14 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਉਮਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਬੰਦੇ ਦਾ ਸੋਧਾ ਲਾਇਆ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਬੇਅਦਬੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਸੀ ਮੁਕਤਸਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਸਾਡੇ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਭਾਈ ਦਇਆ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਲਾਹੌਰੀਆ, ਸੰਤ ਜੀ ਵੀ ਯੰਗਸਟਰ ਸੀਗੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਾਂਗੂ। ਉਹ 28 ਜਾਂ 29 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਸੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਟਕਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਗੱਦੀ ਤੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਬੈਠੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸੰਭਾਲਿਆ, ਸਾਰਾ ਮੋਰਚਾ ਸੰਭਾਲਿਆ। ਸਾਡੀ ਏਜ ਦੇ ਹੀ ਸੀਗੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਲੈਣ ਦੀ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਲੈਣ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਆ। ਅੱਜ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਾਹਲਾ ਦਸਵੰਧ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੱਢ ਸਕਦੇ, ਕਿਸੇ ਦਾ ਯਾਦ ਭੁੱਲ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੱਢਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ, ਹਰ ਰੋਜ਼ ਦਾ ਅਸੀਂ 1 ਪਾਉਂਡ ਤਾਂ ਕੱਢ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਮਹੀਨੇ ਦੇ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਵਾਲੇ 30 ਪਾਉਂਡ ਬਣਦੇ ਆ, ਜੇ ਛੁੱਟੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਲਾ ਲਓ 24 ਪਾਉਂਡ ਬਣਦੇ ਆ। ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਜਣਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੱਢਦੇ ਆ। ਸਾਡਾ ਜੇ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਹੁੰਦਾ 20 ਜਾਂ 25 ਦਾ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਆ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਲਓ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਬਣਦੇ ਆ। ਜੇ ਘੱਟ ਤੋਂ ਘੱਟ ਨਹੀਂ 1 ਮੰਥ ਦਾ 150 ਪਾਉਂਡ ਤਾਂ ਬਣੂਗਾ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੱਢਦੇ ਆ। ਜੇ ਉਹੀ 150 ਪਾਉਂਡ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਭੇਜੀਏ, ਜੋ ਸਾਡੇ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ, ਅੱਜ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਇਹ ਹਾਲਤ ਹੋਈ ਆ। ਕੌਮ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਮਹਾਨ ਯੋਧਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੀ ਮਾਂ, ਉਹਦੀ ਭੈਣ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਘਰੇ ਭਾਂਡੇ ਧੋ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਘਰ ਦਾ ਗੁਜ਼ਾਰਾ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਆ। ਕੀ ਸਾਡਾ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਆਹੀ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਰਹਿ ਗਿਆ? ਇਹੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਮਝਣ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਆ। ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, ਬਹੁਤ ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਆ। ਕਿਤੇ ਵੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਬੇਅਦਬੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦਾ ਯੂਥ ਜਾਂ ਬਾਹਰਲੀਆਂ ਕੰਟਰੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਯੂਥ ਉਦੋਂ ਹੀ ਉੱਠ ਖੜਦਾ। ਇਹ ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਹੈਗੀ, ਪਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਲੋੜ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਬਾਰੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਜਾਵੇ। ਇੰਨਾ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਖਿਮਾ ਦਾ ਜਾਚਕਾ ਹੋਵੇ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
So again, thank you to everyone who's contributed. Just something that I think, just to wrap up, some of the things that I've said, I think very clearly we can see that there is passion here, which has always been known. We've always known the youngsters' passion. What we're seeing more and more of is that creative thought. We're seeing more and more structured and practical and workable ideas. We know there's issues, we know there's problems. But one thing I think we need to remember is this isn't the first time. ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਪੰਥ ਦੇ ਹੱਥ ਤਕਲੀਫਾਂ ਆਈਆਂ। ਬੋਤਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਗਰਜਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਚੇਤਾ ਕਰੋ। Do you remember who ਬੋਤਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਗਰਜਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਹੋਏ? ਉਹਦਾ ਮੁਗਲਸ ਮਿਹਣੇ ਮਾਰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਕੋਈ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਕੋਈ ਸਿੰਘ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਿਹਾ। ਬੋਤਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਗਰਜਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੇ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਨਿਸ਼ਾਨ ਗੱਡ ਕੇ ਖੜੇ ਰਹੇ ਕਿ ਭਾਬੀ ਨੂੰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਦੱਸ ਦੇ ਖਰੇ ਆ ਬੋਤਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਗਰਜਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਚੇਤਾ ਨਾ ਸੰਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਲੋਕੀ ਮਾਰੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਚੁਣ ਚੁਣ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਨੇ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਰਾਇਆ ਗਿਆ we got issues today we've had issues in the past not 20 years ago 50 years ago 100 ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ 150 ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ 200 ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸਮਾਂ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੰਗਲ ਦੇ 2000 ਦੇ ਸਿੰਘ ਦੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਸੀ well 2000 singhs in the jungles in the deserts in the mountains within 60 years Maharaja Ranjit Singh had created Khalsa Raj ਕਿਥੇ ਸਾਰੀ ਦੁਨੀਆ 'ਚ 2000 ਸਿੰਘ ਦੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਰਹਿ ਗਈ ਸੀ ਸਿਰਫ 2000 ਉਹ 2000 ਨੇ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਰਾਜ ਆ ਕੇ ਬਣਾਤਾ 60 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ within 60 years they created Khalsa Raj so we know these difficulties we don't know about solutions our Panth has always been creative and found solutions we want to know how to fill the God ourselves we want to know how we got to go forwards there's something that Sant Kartar Singh ji used to say let's not forget Sant Kartar Singh some there were problems they tari nakli gurus confusing the sangat right what Mahapurush used to say was ਦਿੱਤਿਆ ਬਾਜ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਧਰਮ ਸਿਰ ਦਿੱਤਿਆ ਬਾਜ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹਿਣਾ without giving this ਧਰਮ won't survive ਸਿਰ ਦਿੱਤਿਆ ਬਾਜ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹਿਣਾ without giving our heads the ਧਰਮ won't survive now here I'm not saying we'll go off to Punjab today we've already heard about ego we've heard about giving up that anonymity with each other we've heard about not lowering ourselves and serving the Panth our head is high we need to be down there someone was doing katha on the TV the other day said ਜੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੇ 1 ਰੁਪਈਆ ਚੱਕਣਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਨੀਵਾਂ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਚੱਕਦਾ ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਗਿਰੇ ਹੋਏ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਚੱਕਣਾ ਥੋੜਾ ਹੋਰ ਨੀਵਾਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ that to even pick up a pound off the floor we have to bend over we have to bow down to pick up a pound coin if there's a fallen person we got to bow down even harder we got to go even lower so when Sant ji there was talking about ਦਿੱਤਿਆ ਬਾਜ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਧਰਮ ਸਿਰ ਦਿੱਤਿਆ ਬਾਜ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹਿਣਾ that was a time for ਕੁਰਬਾਨੀਆਂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੀਆਂ ਕੁਰਬਾਨੀਆਂ ਫੇਲ ਲੈਣੀਆਂ but there's so much we can do and if there's problems don't forget Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj da Panthya it's always in Chardi Kala we can never get Chardi Kala because you know what the day we believe it's too much we can't do this anymore it's too hard we've given up then we've really lost Singhs are buggy rebels we don't man any Patshahi apart from Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj they're the only Patshah we're gulam to them and their hukam alone ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੀ ਗੁਲਾਮੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਸਹਿਣੀ ਨਾ ਸਹਿੰਦੇ ਆਏ ਨਾ ਸਹਿਣੀ ਆ and that includes our own ਮਨ ਜੇ ਸਾਡਾ ਮਨ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਕਰ ਸਕੂੰਗਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਦਿਖਾਊਂਗਾ we got to keep ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ we got to believe that we can because we are the children of Guru Gobind Singh Ji there is no space here for ਢਿਲਿਆਈ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਤਾਕਤ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕਿਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕਿਆ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਤਾਕਤ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਕਤ ਕਿਹਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਆ ਫਿਰ ਜੇ ਚਿੜੀਓ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਜ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਮੈਂ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਦਾ ਤਾਕਤ ਕਿਹਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਆ Cameron, we're going to go to David Cameron and get his support to do this. No, the solutions will come from within our Panth. The seva will be done within our Panth. Panth di chardi kala will come from within our Panth. The blessing will be of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. So that was my final vichar, that we have issues, but we have solutions and we have the strength, because Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj has blessed us with that strength. So, final few words from the panel and then we'll do thank yous again.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I think what Bhai Inderjit Singh said there and Bhai Sahib that came before him was very important, that we cannot forget that Sangarsh. And in a way, the Charasi Sangarsh, it all started from Sant Kartar Singh. And what did Bhai Inderjit just told us? That they said, Sir Ditya Baj Nahi Rehna. What is the first place that you're going to give your Sir is by taking Amrit. We have to give our Sir to the Guru. And then what did Sant Jarspaal Singh say? Now everyone looks at him as the role model of today. The one person that we can look at as that role model. What did they say? Amrit Shako, Bani Paro, Rayat Rakho, and then these other things we'll be able to fight in that Sangarsh. So beinti to everyone, keep your Sikh identity, aspire to one day walk on that path of Sikhi. That we keep saying Sant Jarspaal Singh, they're doing it, and the Singhs of that time did it, and then attained their Shaheedi, the ones that attained their Shaheedi. But what did they do? We have to look on that path, and it's easy to find out. Amrit Shago, Bani Paro, Rayat Rakho, and as well, I just want to say that we were talking about Nojwan and doing stuff in the country. There's people that do it, Sikh2Inspire, go monthly to different Gurdwara, but at the same time, I'd like to thank the Sikh Channel. Now, there's many different forms of media out there, there's different channels, but do they show the Nojwan? Do they show what the Nojwan Dillo want? They might go and do a quick 10-minute one of these every now and then and just rip everyone and take, but do they show what the positive that Nojwan are doing? Do they show the Nojwan going into the Gurdwaras and trying to do this kind of stuff? So we need to support these people, or the people that are doing these steps, to get the prachar out there. Anyone, not just saying Sikh2Inspire or Sikh Channel, anyone that's out there doing the prachar, support them, attend these camps. Like Sikh2Inspire have got a camp 22nd to the 26th of August. And anything like this, any positive out there, whoever it is, we have to support them, attend and support them, and get the word out there as well. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.